I want to talk to you about an amazing tool to help you become a more composed and confident footballer. Be Your Best is football training in virtual reality. Developed by experts in Norway, it's the perfect way to improve cognitive performance, improving scanning, decision making and memory from anywhere in the world. In Be Your Best you will go through over 800 scenarios recreated from professional games, a bit like this one from Luka Modric. You'll play from his point of view and receive feedback for your performance along the way. Be Your Best is used by athletes from all around the world, with Arsenal star Martin Odegaard using it in his return from injury, and it's also backed by science, with a recent 9-week study seeing players increase their scan rate by a staggering 28%, and now you can get 20% off your first month or year by using code HUB20 at checkout. So make sure to use beyourbest.com or use the link in the description. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we're talking about a really good Manchester United performance. You can probably see the smile on my face. Just a really good game of football. There wasn't really any spell of the game where I thought the result was really in doubt for United. The performance was good from start to finish, really controlled, really complete, and really, at times, tore Everton to shreds. Yes, a couple of defensive problems, which I probably won't focus on in this video, but maybe another day we'll come back to it. In terms of on the ball, in possession, probably the only thing lacking for Erik ten Hag's side was the finishing touch. Just put the ball in the net, because United had some really good opportunities in this game, which some of them didn't even turn into chances. But in terms of the positions that United got into, really good. It's a really good afternoon of football. I really enjoyed it. So let's talk about it, and let's talk about how United really hurt this Everton team, because this was not how I was expecting Everton to approach the game. Now, certain things that we saw kind of deeper in the pitch, yes. However, the way that Everton approached it initially, for me, was just entirely wrong. Now, what we talk about with Sean Dyche is real compact sides that defensively off the ball know what they're doing. Their spacing between each other is really good. If one player's pressing, they've got cover behind them, things like that. They press as a unit, they defend as a unit. We didn't see much of that in this game. And they actually went with a really weird shape, so I was kind of expecting, when I saw the lineup, for it to be a bit of a 4-5-1 like this. However, it just wasn't. Demarai Gray was up here with Sims instead, and it was basically off the ball initially a 4-4-2, like so. And United, rather than being a 4-2-3-1, were a 4-3-3, like this, with Sabitzer and McTominay playing in the pockets slightly higher up the pitch. And it was genuinely this alone which really caused a lot of problems for Everton, because they were squeezing reasonably high up the pitch. You know, they're not in a low block initially, let's say United goal kicks for example, or just when the centre-backs have got it. They are pressing reasonably high, as we expected. However, it was the way in which they'd done it, basically, was just awful. So, we've got Lisandro Martinez and Harry Maguire at the back here. Now, they're going to get the ball from David De Gea. Everton don't put enough pressure on the ball, and Demarai Gray and Sims were really poor with the way that they structured this. Now, when you do this, the idea is that as the front two, you're going to press the centre-backs, but also you've got an eye on Bruno Fernandes behind you. So when you press, you don't press in a straight line like this, because you leave the pass open for Bruno Fernandes. Or if you do, the other striker has to drop in on him. Instead, what we saw from Everton was basically two forwards that were moving in straight lines towards the centre-backs, which just makes it incredibly easy for Bruno Fernandes to get on the ball in this area. It just didn't really make sense. So, from a structural point of view, it's really poor, because Bruno Fernandes is now the free man in the middle, kind of standing there looking about like, well, I've got all the time in the world. Which means that he can get this ball, and all day long in that first half, we just saw constant pings over the top. And another day, the pass is a tiny bit better, or the touch is a little bit better, and United scored 3 or 4 goals in this first half. Rashford in behind, Keenan Tarkowski could not deal with Marcus Rashford at all. But also, Anthony from this side, wide right, getting in behind. Godfrey's positioning was awful all game long also. Well, I should say half the game, because he got brought off at half time. But the passes from Fernandes out into these areas, either in behind to Marcus Rashford or in behind this area for Anthony, which is really impressive, but it was far too easy for United. The defensive approach from Everton was just wrong, and it made it way too easy for United. Anthony should have had a couple of goals cutting in from these areas. He kind of gets into this position here, opens his body up. They're almost copy and paste chances, but doesn't put enough disguise on the ball, doesn't really get the right connection he wants. Marcus Rashford has one over the top where another day, the form he's in, he probably puts it into the back of the net. Another half decent one where their defenders recover well, but you can see the problem. Now, of course, this doesn't happen every time, because Everton aren't that daft. So sometimes, for example, Gay might put a bit more pressure on Bruno Fernandes in this area. But what this means is that if United show good quality on the ball, which they did in this game, then Sabitzer is free in this area. And it was just really too easy for United to get the ball moving in these areas. Now, it was helped by the fact that United had a real element of control on the game. They weren't looking to go forward too soon. Yes, Bruno Fernandes was playing these long passes, but there were also plenty of situations where he was slowing it down. And once again, he was just absolutely phenomenal from this pivot position. Let's find the stats. These are just quality. 117 touches and 100 attempted passes, completing 86 of them. But we can see that he wasn't just playing safe passes, because he got 6 key passes in this game. 8 out of 14 long balls. 2 big chances created. Bruno Fernandes, again, just absolutely incredible. It wasn't good enough from Everton to stop him, I must say that. Everton gave him far too much time. But Bruno Fernandes, individually as a performance, it was really, really good. And what this means is that Everton kind of realised they can't constantly press, so at times they then sit off a little bit more. But even still, it didn't work when they were sitting off. It was a bit more of a back four initially. However, McNeil on this side would often track all the way back into a wing-back position, with Wan-Bissaka pushing really high on this side. McNeil kind of tracks him, allowing Anthony to come inside. We then got Onana, Gay and Iwobi kind of sort of tucking in to make a 3 in midfield, and then a front 2. What United done to go against this was used Harry Maguire, Lisandro Martinez and Malacia as a back 3, Bruno Fernandes just in front of them, Sancho high and wide on the left, Rashford through the middle, Sabitzer here, McTominay in the pocket on this side, and just control really, just control all over the pitch. Again, there aren't players close enough to Bruno Fernandes in this area. And then what you've got is if Bruno Fernandes can get on the ball, you've got Bruno Fernandes, Sabitzer, McTominay and Anthony forming kind of a bit of a midfield diamond at times in this area around the Everton 3-man midfield. So again, you've got the overload. It really is just far too easy for United in these areas. Again, if we're looking at Gray and Sims, there's not enough pressure on the ball. Lisandro Martinez had all the time in the world in these areas, as did Maguire. The two of them had very good games. Tyrell Malacia, often the deeper of the two fullbacks, although even he had time to step forward and move into these areas. And again, United were just really good. Having got into these positions, I thought the wingers were absolutely fantastic. Of course, at times, Wan-Bissaka might make an underlapping run, Anthony would be wider. I thought Sancho and Anthony done a brilliant job in this game of combining a sense of security and safety on the ball, keeping the possession for the side, but also turning up, facing up against a man and going, I'm going to take you on and get towards the final third. Anthony done it a couple of times and actually crossed on his right foot, which was nice to see. Sancho was getting into really good positions, and I mean, his assist as well, quality, make sure you go watch it. I thought the wingers done really well. The fullbacks were kind of facilitating them to get into these positions, with Malacia playing deep, Wan-Bissaka sometimes inverting, or underlapping I should say. It allowed these wingers to hold the width at times, but also, due to the quality rotations that United were putting in place, with sometimes Sabitzer moving into this area, or perhaps it might be Rashford moving into the channel, it then allows Sancho to come inside. And on this side, you've got Wan-Bissaka overlapping, it allows Anthony to come inside. And it's these little rotations of movement and little patterns of movement, which allows players like Sancho and Anthony, who are quality players in tight spaces, to get into positions where they're gonna cause problems. And it was just really good from United. At times, it could move all the way to a 3-1-6, if Sancho's going to push all the way forward on the last line, Sabitzer as well, McTominay, Anthony, and United now have 6 players up against the Everton back 5, with Bruno Fernandes kind of controlling things from deeper alongside the back 3. Again, it was just all round really good, and this was happening, especially in the first half. I think it's the best half of football United have produced this season. I think if United had been 3-0 up at half time, 4-0 even, I don't think Everton could have had too many complaints. Pickford was really keeping them in the game, because United were just carving through them with those balls over the top, the combination play in the final third. It was just really good. In the second half, things weren't quite as easy for United. Everton changed into more of a 4-5-1 shape, and this just seemed to suit them so much more. Rather than having 2 players being taken out of the game by the centre-backs every time, it's now only 1. Gray is naturally now following Malacia, McNeil and Wan-Bissaka. It makes a bit more sense. They've also got the extra man in midfield now because they're not getting dragged wider. But again, I thought United reacted well. This did kind of dent the momentum a little bit in the game. However, Ten Hag reacted well. He put Rashford on the left-hand side. He brought Anthony off for Martial, who it's great to see him return and getting some football. Sancho onto the right wing. And again, this change worked really well with Wan-Bissaka still getting forward. It means Sancho can come into these areas. Rashford, we know the quality he has on the ball. Every time he got on the ball, this afternoon, he looked like he was ready to wreak absolute havoc against this Everton defence, and Coleman looks petrified every time Rashford gets anywhere near him, and that's kind of that aura that Rashford has about him. But also what it's done, by having Martial up front, is you bring a bit more technical security to the play. I thought Rashford was good in these areas, he did keep the ball well for his side. However, Martial, when he plays up front and drops deep, he's just got that little subtlety to his game, which Rashford doesn't necessarily always have, and it kind of allows United again to create this overload of Fernandes, Sabitzer, McTominay, Martial, up against Idrissa Gana Gueye, Iwobi and Onana. Again, it gives United the overload, and the thing is, football at this level, players of this level, Bruno Fernandes, Sabitzer, Rashford, Sancho, Martial, they're all quality players. They only need to create the overload once or twice in a 45-minute half, and that's enough for them to create a big opportunity. And that's kind of what we saw in the second half. It weren't as kind of commanding and controlling, but United still were fine. They were still in control of the game, not to as greater extent, but it was still more than comfortable from them. And honestly, I think Ten Hag will be absolutely delighted with what he saw in this game. I thought the response to losing the ball was good, the counter-press. Everton didn't really have an outball. The one outball they did have was to go long up towards Sims, but I thought Maguire dealt with that very well, with Lissandro Martinez also. Yes, Everton had the occasional counter-attack, and there were a couple of frailties in the defence, but maybe we'll check that out another day. Maybe not, because it isn't exactly the starting back four anyway, but let me know if you want that video. Apart from that, though, United were brilliant. Ten Hag will be disappointed with the lack of ruthless finishing from his side. I dare say there might be some shooting practice on Monday. However, in this schedule, based on, some recent performances which haven't been great, the likes of Newcastle, disappointing result, Fulham before the international break, not really good enough performances, to bounce back with that performance against Brentford in midweek, and then to kind of kick on again at the weekend against Everton, another good physical side who are doing well under Sean Dyche. It's just a really good performance. It could have been 3 or 4, which would have been a really handsome victory. However, 2-0, more than deserving of it. United deserve to win the game, so that's all I have to say for today's video. There's not too much to pick out from it other than what we've covered already. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Who was your man of the match? For me, I think I would have to go Bruno Fernandes, although I did think the wingers were also brilliant. I mean, McTominay also got the important goal, whilst his performance levels weren't quite there all the time, but still played pretty well. Let me know what you think, though. Let me know which of these players you want to see start in the next game, which will be Sevilla in the Europa League. All of that, let me know what you think. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.